Around the clock, journalists are hard at work interviewing sources, gathering data, and researching stories. But that's just half their job. The other half of a journalist's job is to take all the information that they gather and present it to the public in a clear, precise, and compelling manner.
It's always kind of funny to me that we call it a story, right? It's a news story. But it's a story based on facts. So you're constantly thinking about what's the best way to tell the story through your words, through your language, through the images that you have. And I love literature myself. I read novels, and I read poetry, and I read short stories. And I interview fiction writers, all kinds of writers for our program. It's, in that sense, very similar to what they do, telling a good story.
You tell people the things they need to know to understand it in an order that makes sense. So you have to unfold new facts in a sequence so that they can build a reality in their head so they understand it. And then at the end, you have to leave them with some sort of conclusion. A story can't just end. It has to end in a way that leaves someone able to make some sort of conclusion. Even if the conclusion is, this story isn't over yet, they have to be able in their own mind to add up everything you've just told them and come to some sort of feeling of closure about this part of the story.
You take all this information from all these people and you boil it down pretty quickly to a 10 or 12 inch 500-word story about what happened that goes from this giant thing down to just the story. You, as the journalist, have to take all that and compress it down to make it simple, short, understandable, readable, and interesting for a general reader. Use good, tight, clear, simple writing to tell your story. Simple words, easy words, not big, long, complicated words. When you're writing a story, you're not trying to impress your reader with how smart you are. If you're writing news, you're not trying to be overly creative, overly dramatic. You're sticking to your facts, you're sticking to the information, and if you encounter writer's block, it's probably that you don't have the information you need. Okay, you probably have stumbled into a part of the story where you don't know what's next because you didn't ask that question. Go back and get the information, and that'll get you past it.
Craft your words and your phrases in a way that makes the reader want to read more. Write it in a way that makes people feel like they were there. Don't just tell them what happened. Really kind of describe it. Make them understand it. In this day and age, you can also use other tools like photos, videos. I think it makes the story more compelling if you can see the people that this is affecting and hear from them personally.
The most compelling thing is the sound, what I say, the voices that you put into your story. So the people that you talk to are going to tell the most compelling story. It's the most important tool is making sure that you're getting interesting voices, interesting points of view into your story, and that you're telling it in a compelling way that are going to make people care.
My number one tool is the person that I'm interviewing. Because we're television news, we like to get great sound and great video from the person that I'm interviewing. You want to write to the video so the viewer can put two and two together, what's actually happening, and the visuals as well. I'm telling the story of that one person or what happened, and it's all about people, and it's all about capturing their emotions and what they tell me on tape. This is an amazing job. You talk to all sorts of people, and how wonderful is it to be able to tell someone's story? And that is your job.
Narrative, in a lot of ways, is the X factor of good journalism. You've got a pile of facts on the top of your desk, but it's just a bunch of pieces, a bunch of building blocks. Narrative is how you make those pieces into something that's coherent but also consumable. Narrative is the mortar between the bricks of facts. Narrative helps complete that activity that is communication, where you not only deliver, but what you deliver is absorbed and understood. It can be done badly, leaving people sort of not fully comprehending what it is you're trying to tell them, or it can be done well, not only leaving them fully informed on what you're trying to tell them, but also giving them a little something, a little electricity, a little sugar, a little something that they'll remember tomorrow and the next day and next week. Not only what you told them, but how you told it to them. Narrative is really key.
In this day and age, you really have to figure out what's the best medium for my story. Is a picture worth 1,000 words, or does my story really need 1,000 words to make sure that people understand it? Will a small video clip that goes viral around your school or your town do it as well? Right? So you have to figure out what's the most compelling way to get my point across to people. So now there's all these different tools and all these different mediums that you have access to, and you just have to figure out, well, how do I want to tell this story? Do I create a graphic or a piece of art? Do I create a video that's really well edited? Do I do radio interviews? Or do I just write on a blog post somewhere? So it's up to you.
Journalists do use a lot of tools to tell stories. Words, photos, video. Think of all the tools you can use to get beyond the basic facts of a story. Try using some of these different tools yourself, and soon you'll be telling your own stories in a whole new way.